So I was actually talking in DMs with Billy, and we got to throw some cold water on this whole TNA as a pipeline to WWE talk. Because if that were the case, Josh Alexander would be in WWE right now. So WWE is not working with TNA simply so they can take their talent and poach their talent. That's just not the case. It isn't. Will there be some talent whose contracts are coming due that WWE will want? Yes. Will they get them? If they really want them, they will. And there's not a goddamn thing anybody can do about it. Similarly, if a talent whose contract is coming due and AEW wants them, they can outbid TNA. They can even outbid WWE at times, depending on the talent. They certainly outbid WWE for Will Ospreay and Okada. Now, one could argue, was that a smart play? Well, I think those two guys fit their company, but business has kind of not been great since then. Now it's not a direct correlation and causation there, but they did spend a lot of money on those guys, and they were not going to get outbid. So if there was somebody that they really wanted, AEW could have them. So this WWE TNA partnership is not about having a talent pipeline. It never was. That's just something that people made up, right? It is. It's a figment of everybody's imagination. They thought that they were just working together because they were just going to be poaching the talent. Well, guess what? That's always happened. That's been happening for 20 years. And it's going to continue to happen because TNA is a small company compared to WWE and AEW. They are. So if somebody comes available that's over and either one of those company wants them, they're going to get them. That is nothing new. That is not even a controversial statement. That is just the reality of the situation. Similarly with New Japan. They got some guys whose contracts are coming due and New Japan can't afford to pay them. And they're very likely to go to AEW. Right? Like Kevin Knight is already working Ring of Honor. And I made the joke the other day to my buddy Chris Samsley, who got real salty about this, but I made the joke like, looks like New Japan is just a pipeline for AEW, right? And it was a ridiculous statement to say and I meant it to be ridiculous because that's the same thing people were saying about TNA. It's like, no, it's not a direct pipeline. But because of the fact that they're a smaller company with less money, they're automatically a pipeline to the bigger companies. They're already in that position, irregardless of working with WWE or not. That's just like that their status has not changed as far as being a pipeline to bigger promotions. That's what they are, right? There's going to be some talent that are going to be with TNA forever and not ever go to the big leagues. Moose, Eddie Edwards, guys like that who are fantastic, but for various reasons are just not going to AEW, WWE. They're very happy in TNA. There's always going to be like the core group of people that are going to be with TNA for like ever. Okay. But like you're looking at a guy like Joe Hendry, the clock's ticking on him. And he's very likely to go once his TNA run is over. He's very likely to go to WWE. That was going to happen whether or not WWE and TNA were partners. That's just it was just going to happen. That's it. Same thing with Jordynne Grace. Like she had outgrown the company. Joe Hendry is outgrowing the company, right? And if you now look at New Japan, Will Ospreay outgrew the company. He did. He got himself into a position where New Japan could no longer afford him, and he would be giving up stupid money to stay there, right? So he went to AEW, and that was smart on his part, right? And same as Kazuchika Okada. The money in New Japan wasn't the same that it used to be. So they left and they went to AEW. Is New Japan a pipeline to AEW? Yes. Is that a result of their partnership? No. It was always like they're a smaller company now. That's just the way that it is. They cannot afford to pay people the same way that AEW and WWE can afford. That's it. When you're a smaller company, you're always at risk of losing your talent, no matter what. Okay? That's it. So we got to get rid of this talk of WWE poaching TNA It's like because every time someone leaves TNA to go to WWE, they're going to say that it is a predatory thing by WWE, as opposed to like their contracts came due and they went for more money elsewhere, which has always been the case, right? And if you're going to say that about WWE, you got to say it about AEW. You got to be fair. But nobody wants to call balls and strikes. They want to play tribalism, and it's weird and it's creepy. It's creepy behavior to do that. But I hope that this whole Josh Alexander thing ends the talk of this being like a predatory pipeline for talent. The reason why WWE is working with TNA, and there's multiple reasons. One, I think they want to build up TNA to take away from AEW's business, and I've said that from the beginning. And B, they want to be able to use TNA talent on NXT to make their show more exciting. And C, they want to send their talent to TNA so they can go get more reps. Those are the three reasons, right? And it is not so that they can position themselves to sign TNA talent before AEW can, because and that might actually happen, right? Like if TNA know, like with Jordynne Grace, I think TNA knew for a long time they weren't keeping her, and so they were like, hey, if you want to negotiate with WWE, go ahead, like no problem. Those are our buddies, right? Guess who else did that? New Japan and Will Ospreay. New Japan's like, hey, if you want to negotiate with AEW, go ahead. No problem. He announced that he had signed with AEW 2 months before his contract expired. Was that predatory by AEW? It's like, no, it's just a partnership. Does that mean that New Japan is a subservient pipeline? Right? Technically, yeah. Is that a bad thing? No. Does that mean New Japan sucks? No. New Japan with, they might actually have a better year this year than they did last year, but they're about to lose some more talent. There's rumors that Finley's gone, and there's rumors that Jeff Cobb might not be coming back. Kevin Knight, and where like Finley probably will go to WWE, right? And if that's the case, I don't know if that's the case or not, but it's just for example. And Jeff Cobb will end up in AEW. Now, if Jeff Cobb goes to AEW, is Tony Khan a predator? Right? No, he's just like the contract expired, and they wanted to sign him. And it's like there's nothing anybody can do about it. So everybody needs to calm down on that talk. They're not going to, by the way. Like everybody has like this whole fairy tale made up in their brains about what these things are, and so they have just decided, and it's like you just can't move people. But what we're gonna do on this show is we're gonna tell the truth. All right, we're gonna call balls and strikes, and we're gonna tell like it is, and we're gonna be right down the middle. That's how we do it. Okay. All right, let's get to the biggest news of the week, the most important news of the week. And I want to actually, let me see. I'm gonna get my keyboard. The biggest news of the week, the most important news of the week, the news that would bring tear to a glass eye. I'm pulling it up right now. Okay. So Chris Bay, earlier this week on his birthday, this dude set the internet on fire with a simple video. Let's see. Here he is. And here he is walking. Look at that man. That is so beautiful. He is no longer paralyzed, which, Rob Van Dam had already stated. He is he's up walking, and he is doing great, making a full recovery. He did say that, he broke his neck and he was paralyzed from like the neck down for a long time. But through physical therapy, through prayers, through all this stuff, he is now walking again. And that news completely takes the cake. Like, I legit, I always make fun of people when they say like on Twitter, like, oh, I'm crying. I watched that video and I fucking teared up. I was like, man, I'm 42 years old. Here I am crying over a Twitter post. But like legit, like I was worried about the guy. I didn't think he'd ever walk again, and we didn't really have a lot of information, but everybody was so secretive of what's happened to him. This is the first time he's posted since the injury. He's in a really good place, and he's vowed to make a comeback, and I hope he does. I hope he does. So God bless you, Chris Bay. We love you. Always praying for you. Always praying for you. Okay. I did forget one thing. TNA Unbreakable 2025 will be headed. This is from Billy. I already knew this. I just forgot to add it to my list. TNA Unbreakable 2025 will be held on Thursday, April 17th in Las Vegas at the Cox Pavilion. The event will stream on TNA Plus. So yes, TNA is going head to head with TNA for a WrestleMania weekend show. So the Cox Pavilion, I've been there a couple times for MMA. I went to an MMA event there, and I went to a boxing event there, and I believe WWE's ran there before. But it's where the UNLV Running Rebels play basketball. It's just off the strip. I believe it's right behind the MGM Grand. It's kind of like going towards the airport there. So it's in a pretty good location, easy to get to. It's like a 3,000 seat arena. So not like huge, but for what TNA is doing, like a really good size for TNA. Here's the confusing thing. Why not just go Live Impact? I don't understand why they're not just doing a Live Impact. I know that they're going to have shows in the can already from their St. Joseph tapings, but I think it would be smart to just be a live Impact. But they're going to do a special TNA Plus event for WrestleMania weekend, which I think we've all been stating for years that they should do. Now they've done a couple, but they were all like small time stuff, and they were with Fight TV. But this is the first time that they've gone like exclusively on their own network. So, and it's going to be a full production. So, I was worried that they would be part of the GCW collective, and no, they're doing their own thing separate from all that, because the GCW collective shows never look good because the production's always bad. But it looks like this should be a full big budget production for their app on WrestleMania weekend, kind of like what Ring of Honor used to do back in the day. So that should be a big time show. So I'm excited for that, but I really thought they should have done a Live Impact. That would have been the thing. And Billy makes a good point. Usually these are one-off shows like Multiverse, or not storyline driven. So this will be interesting. So yeah, so what this is going to do is going to give them the opportunity to use a lot of talent that they normally don't get the opportunity to use, because everybody's going to be in town. So now will they have a big, will they sell this thing out? Like everybody's thinking they would sell it out. I don't know, because there's going to be a lot of different shows happening at the same time. And so we'll see what they're able to do. They probably will have this thing set up for like 2,500. Will they get that? I just don't know. I know NXT is running that weekend, but I think NXT is running on the Saturday morning, I want to say. Because they're doing, so I think Friday SmackDown's at T-Mobile, Monday SmackDown's at T-Mobile, but I think NXT is running at T-Mobile also, which is like it's probably a 10-minute walk from T-Mobile to Cox Pavilion. If I'm remembering it correctly. I have not lived in Las Vegas in a long time. But and in fact, when I lived there, T-Mobile wasn't even a thing yet. It had yet to be built. But so I'm trying to think of when NXT is running that weekend. So because I get the feeling they'll be able to have access to some WWE talent for the show, but probably NXT. We still have not seen any main roster stars cross over. But they'll have an opportunity to bring in some of the bigger indie talent from around the world. And so that should be a big deal. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing how that works and what happens with that. Billy says there's 60,000 wrestling fans in town. It sells out. And there's no Ring of Honor this year, which is usually the big Thursday show. Yeah, so that's true. That's true. And the GCW, the collective, is only running at the Palms. And it's like they're running fucking 24/7 at the Palms.